Hey guys, so in this video we're going to talk about the Austin Jones sexting scandal and what parents need to know about teenage sexting. And we're starting in 3, 2, 1. Hi, how's it going guys? My name is Jay and welcome back to Tech Parental. And this is the channel where I help you to keep your family safe, sane, and connected in today's digital world. So as I mentioned in the title, we're going to be talking about the sexting scandal that came out with Austin Jones in the last couple of days. For those of you who don't know about who Austin Jones is, he is a musician. He's a YouTuber, kind of like Justin Bieber, who is a singer. He does all kinds of acapellas and covers, just like Justin Bieber did. He's about 24 years old, and he's facing up to 30 years in prison for 2 counts of production of child pornography. Homeland Security has recently done an interview with him, a videotaped interview, where he admitted to having sexually explicit conversations with 14 and 15-year-old girls. Um, he directed them to make videos dancing in explicit ways. He was instructing them on what to do in these videos, and he waived his Miranda rights in these videos. In the taped videos where the Department of Homeland Security was interrogating him. Okay, so he even mentioned that he was aware of 14, aware of the hey, thanks, Jonathan. How's it going? He mentions that he is aware that these girls are 14 and 15 years old. So let's just talk really briefly about some of the things that he did to the 14 and 15-year-old girls. We're not going to name them, so we'll call them Victim 1 and Victim 2. And then we'll talk about just sexting in general and what you guys can do as parents to prevent sexting, or to kind of monitor it, or to kind of prevent it not from, prevent it from happening with your child. Okay, so the first victim, 15 years old, um, she sent 15 videos of herself dancing at his request, 10 of which exposed her buttocks as well as her anus. Okay, so these are very serious videos that are being sent to this Austin Jones guy at his request. The second one was again Jones manipulating these girls, telling them that she's lucky to even speak to him. She needs to prove that he's the biggest fan. Quote, think how amazing it would be for you to have your favorite singer spanking your ass. So some very serious manipulation going on here. I want to make you happy and all. I just don't want to get in trouble for it. This is what her response was. When she protests these videos, Jones would say, I guess you really aren't my biggest fan. So here you have a 24-year-old guy manipulating a 14-year-old girl and kind of pressuring her to send videos. He says, I need to see your blank hole, right? Your a-hole is what he's essentially saying, to know that you care 100%. This second victim, by the way, ends up sending him 25 videos, 8 of which contained graphic parts where she was exposing her genitals as well as her anus. Okay, so here you have a situation again with a 24-year-old guy pressuring an underage girl to send nude pics, nude videos of them twerking, of them dancing, and other kinds of sexually explicit thing. He's directing them. He's kind of not forcing them, but he's really using his celebrity status. These teen girls like him, and he's using that to gain to send, have these girls send these images, send these videos. Okay, so some research that I've been doing has shown that over 76% of teens who have sexted before have admitted to having sexual intercourse. Okay, so that number right there is a pretty alarming number and something that we should be aware of. The Journal of Cyberpsychology, Behavior, and Social Networking indicates that more than 20% of students reported sending a nude or semi-nude, and 30% reported receiving a sext message. Okay, so what does this tell us? That right now we're living in a time where sexting is a very um, what's what's going on? Okay, okay. We're living in a time where this is commonplace with teens. As being a school psychologist, this is something that I see in the public school system quite a bit. I see students coming in with this kind of information. I hear it from other students. Sometimes students will show it to me on their phones. So this is something that is the new flirting. It's commonplace. It is in many ways expected by boys and by girls. This is something that is happening on a regular basis. It's a national issues. It's a national issue, and it's something that we see in the schools on a regular basis. So, what are some prevention tips that you can employ as a parent to kind of get ahead of this sexting issue? If you've got a preteen, a tween, or a young teenager or a middle schooler who has a phone and is getting ready to kind of get into social media, these are some tips that you can employ to kind of prevent this. Number one, educate yourself, right? Educate yourself about the device that your child has. Whether they have an iPad, whether they have an Android phone, whether they have an iPhone, whether they have an iPod, no matter what they're using, you need to be pretty familiar with that device. Don't just go out and get your kid the latest phone, or even a hand-me-down phone from your spouse or a cousin or a family member. Make sure that you know exactly how that phone works, okay? Um, you want to get to know the apps that they use, right? So you don't want to be in the dark about the apps that they're using. You want to kind of conduct regular searches on the phone. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but you definitely want to be aware of the apps that they're using. There are many apps that are anonymous and that are designed for hooking up. They are like Tinder and some others that are designed for kind of getting together with other people. They're anonymous, so anyone can be on there. And I'm not necessarily talking about a predator situation where the other person is an older person who's overage and talking to your underage child. We're really talking about anyone who can be trying to elicit sext messages from your child. Okay? So, get to know the apps, that they're using. Some apps like Snapchat, of course, many of you are aware, give students the impression that the messages that they send will disappear, and that's certainly not true. As you're aware, we can take screenshots. You can take pictures of like a picture of the phone. There are many ways to kind of keep an image from Snapchat. Okay, and also Facebook. Don't underestimate Facebook. Even though many kids may be moving on to some of the other apps, Facebook, in my experience with the students that I work with, is still a prominent and prevalent social media service where kids, especially Facebook Messenger, because it provides everything: video chatting, voicemail, you can call each other, you can text each other, you can do live video chat. So there's a lot of connectivity and a lot of great things that Facebook Messenger has to offer. But it also can bring some problems, okay? So what's another tip? Tip number 2, educate and guide your child. So the first one was educate yourself. The second one is educate your child, right? So just like this Austin Jones situation where he's prompting these girls and say, well, if you like me, do this. If you want me, to prove to me you're my biggest fan, do this. You want to run those situations by your children. You want to say to your child, hey, if somebody were to pressure you and say, what would you do if someone asked you to take a nude picture? What would you do if someone started sending you nude pictures? What would you do if someone asked you to make a video showing your body? What if somebody asked you to do this? Or what if your friends pressured you to do that? How would you respond? Right? So you want to kind of simulate that situation and bring up those scenarios that certainly will come up. What if someone sent you a dirty picture of one of your classmates. What would you do with it, right? So you want to encourage communication with your child. And sometimes that can be tough with a mother and a son or a father and a daughter. And it may not be the most comfortable situation to kind of discuss that, or they may have some difficulty, but to the best of your ability, try to get your child to come to you, or to, at the very least, do not forward that message, right? They may get it, but don't forward it, okay? You want to provide them with a list of responses, right? So, hey, send me a nude picture. Hey, send me a nude video, or do this or do that. Well, what am I going to do when that happens, right? I need to say something. Hey, my mom is here, or I'm going to bed. So you want to create some responses, or you and your child together create some responses that are going to be socially acceptable for the child's friends, for their peers, and doesn't make them look too much like a dork while still keeping them safe. They're not really getting into the kind of sexting thing and spreading that, or even kind of taking pictures of themselves, which is definitely something we don't want, okay? Also, you want to discuss the dangers of peer pressure and the need to seek approval, okay? And so this is really where Austin Jones was kind of, I was talking about Alex Jones. He's also in the news for some Sandy Hook stuff, and he's in some hot water now. But we're not talking about Alex Jones. We're talking about Austin Jones, okay? And he peer pressured these girls. They were seeking approval, and he really pushed the approval button. If you like me, if you want to prove to me that you mean so much to me, or that you're my biggest fan. And so, teens can do that to each other as well. Not just celebrities, not just superstars, but teens can do that to each other. If you love me, you'll send me this. Come on, it's fun. Everybody's doing it, I promise. So you want to talk to your teen and discuss that this is an issue. Peer pressure is an issue, right? And it isn't just boys pressuring girls. Sometimes it's girls pressuring boys, and sometimes it's boys pressuring boys. Well, if you like her, prove that you like her. Send her a picture of yourself, right? And so a boy who doesn't want to seem like he's not cool, or he doesn't want to seem like a punk in front of his friends, he's going to take a picture of himself and send it to the girl, right, at the behest of his friends. So you want to educate and guide your child about the dangers of peer pressure and what those things can lead to, because these photos going out there can really damage a child's reputation, especially a teen who's getting ready to look for colleges and eventually jobs in a few years, right? So tip number 3, set up some ground rules and be consistent. So ground rules and be consistent, right? And this channel is called Tech Parental, and any parenting channel that you've ever seen, or any article that you've ever read about parenting, talks about being consistent. And so when it comes to digital media, social media, the digital age, and the way that we manage our kids' lives and the way that we protect them online is by using by being consistent, by being consistent and setting some rules, right? So clearly, you want to discuss clearly when the phones are going to be used, right? So no social media, for example, after 9 p.m. or between 9 p.m. and 7:30 a.m. You want to set clear parameters for when this device is going to be used. And this is when the child first gets the phone. They may go on a frenzy when they first get it, setting up their accounts and everything. But once these kids are all settled into their devices and their accounts are all set up, which of course I hope you're going to monitor them. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But you want to make sure that there are clear parameters for when are okay times to use this phone and when are not okay times, right? You want to set up contracts with rules and consequences. So removal of the phone, or you may have to do chores if these rules are broken, right? And follow through. Sometimes setting up rules and setting up contracts is the easy part, but sometimes it can inconvenience you as the parent to follow through on these rules. If you take your phone away from your child, now you can't call them after school to maybe pick up their younger brother from school. So sometimes it can be a situation where you yourself are inconvenienced by following through on some consequences that you set up with your child. So that's something that you definitely have to be strong with. You have to set that up and follow through. Hopefully your child can follow those rules. Also, when setting up these ground rules and being consistent, you want to bring up the notion that there will be random searches. And you don't want to make this seem like a prison cell, right, where they're tossed into cells. But you definitely want to let your child know that from time to time you will be going into their phone, checking their pictures, checking their text messages, and just looking for things. You want to let them know, I'm not going to be in your phone every single day, but I'm going to be from time to time, maybe once a week, maybe a couple of times a week at random periods, checking up on your phone. Okay? You want to tell them, if it's something that your grandmother wouldn't see, don't post it. Don't say it to other people. And what you're going to find, folks, is that most teenage conversation is boring. Most teenage conversation you don't want to read. It's full of the most inane and ridiculous things that you've ever read, and it's the most boring thing ever. But you want to check in from time to time on their social media. You want to check in, from their phone. You want to confiscate their phone for these little searches from time to time, just to make sure that things are good. This brings us to tip number 4, which is performing internal searches. And that's kind of what we were just talking about now. Most kids today, and this is something that we'll talk about in a future video, they leave their social media profiles public. They leave them public. Right? So this is your opportunity. You don't even have to take their phone. You can go on your computer, you can go on your phone and search your child's social media profile. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. On any of these platforms, go on, check what's going on. You can search their friends, right? Oftentimes, you'll know who they're talking to just by who's posting on their timeline. So, their friends are not keeping private profiles either. For the most part, they, hey, Mario, how's it going? For the most part, they will be having public profiles as well. So you can kind of keep tabs from time to time. Again, you have your own social media, you have your own life to kind of look after. But from time to time, you may want to pop on the social media profiles of your kids and see what they're doing, okay? The reason that you should do this is because if you're not searching your kid's social media profile or their what's called a digital footprint, if you're not keeping tabs on the public reputation of your child, you should know that colleges and universities, as well as future employers, are definitely going to be looking at the digital footprint, the public record of your child. So if you put in Johnny Jones and a whole bunch of pictures come out of Facebook or Instagram of Johnny drinking, of Johnny maybe semi-nude, hanging out with girls, total partying, this is going to be something that colleges and universities are going to say, wait a minute, we may not want to accept this kid, okay? And so for these purposes, you want to keep up with their social media from time to time, just so that if you find something, you have some time to clean it up, okay? You may not be able to clean up everything, but you will be able to do some damage control. And some people say, hey, look, some people say, I don't want to violate my child's privacy, right? I don't want to violate. I don't, they have their own life. Or maybe the child may protest. Hey, Firefly, nice to have you. Your child may say, oh, there may be some privacy issues, but you need to, this is not spying. You are not spying on your child or the things that they do. This is your child. And you are concerned about their future, and so you are caring for their digital life, their digital behavior, just as you would with the real life friends they keep and all of that. So this is something that's very important for you to do. All right, so that was the fourth tip, okay? So just to recap, you want to educate yourself on the device, educate yourself on the apps that they use, right? You also, number 2, you want to educate your child about potential situations that may arise, where people may ask them to send nude pictures or nude videos. Tip number 3, just to recap, you want to set up some ground rules and be consistent, right? So set up some contracts, set up the idea that we're going to be doing some random searches on your phone, and that, here are some parameters when you can use the phone, right? Which hours are okay. And finally, you want to perform internal searches on your child's social media. You want to check up on their digital footprint to find out what information is available about your child publicly, okay? Just so that colleges, universities, their reputation, as well as future employers can stay clean, or as clean as possible, right? So just to get back, what if your child has already been caught sexting? Maybe you've already found some information, and we're not going to go too deep into this in this video, but I wanted to just mention that many teens have already been jailed and put on probation. Teens, underage, so 16, 17, 18, all right, have been put on probation and done some jail time for sending and receiving text messages, right? So minors could face serious charges for the distribution of child pornography. And so what is considered child pornography? I'm not a lawyer, but when you take a picture, when you send a picture, when you forward a picture, and when you post a picture of sexually explicit images of anyone who's under the age of 18, that can be considered distribution or production of child pornography, right? So production and distribution. Again, that's taking pictures, sending pictures, forwarding, or posting pictures of anyone under the age of 18 that's really going to get you into hot water. So you want to check your local laws. I'll put a link in the description when this video is done so that you guys can, get a link up to your local state and find out, what are some of the ramifications for your child in your state, right? As I mentioned before, if this has already happened, you want to be super aware of the implications for colleges, universities, as well as employers. And so what can you do to reduce that damage? How can you take some of those posts down, right? Posts are generally permanent, but there are some things that you are able to take down. And you want to deal with the, hey, what's up, Tim? Thanks for jumping on. I appreciate it. You want to just also be able to deal with the embarrassment that your child is dealing with, having just come off some type of nude or semi-nude exposure, okay? So I hope that these tips were able to kind of just give you some insight. I wanted to share this story about Austin Jones, using his influence and using his celebrity status to pressure girls. But remember that you don't have to be a celebrity, and you don't have to be an older child to press underage children into this kind of activity. It's something that's super serious, and it's something that needs to be monitored by you, the parent. So again, this is Jay Andrews from Tech Parental, keeping your family safe, sane, and connected in today's digital world. I'll catch you guys in the next video.